What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. Time to put a bow around week 6. Move on from that. Take a look at what we've got here in week 7. Right? Oh no! Wait, is today Friday, Craig? Holy cow! Why are you letting me talk for?
I don't know. I like how you just flow there, you know?
The days just blend together. Holy Friday, everybody. Oh my God. We're making picks. We're putting them in. Golden Nugget.
You know, we're not making picks. We've already made picks. How about that?
We have made picks, but we're sharing it with everybody. That's right. This is the first week in 3 weeks that we're actually not making a live pick on the show.
We're in concert together on the picks this week. We really have no debating. You know, but there aren't a lot of choices in the NFL in particular.
No,
you're not really
not.
But I will say this before we begin. Even though we have not used the Thursday night pick, I don't know that we've missed one all season long. I think we've gotten almost, out of the 7 weeks of the season or 6 weeks of the season, we must have gotten almost every single one right, except for one, even if we did. I mean, last night, it actually wasn't that easy because, Denver does their thing where they're down and they come back and everyone thinks, oh, they're maybe still pretty good and they're not. But I know you like Cleveland and so did I. So that, it depended on when you placed the wager, but for the most part, within about 48 hours up to the game, it was like 2.5, and then 1.5 on the day of the game. But Cleveland was a winner. And look, Denver is a great fade team right now. They are just not good. But at home, they'll probably be a little better.
I took the under also in last night's game, and it dropped. And I took it when it had already dropped down to 40. I was just like, just looking at the game plan for these two teams, looking at the matchups, and I'm sorry, but Teddy Bridgewater looked terrible. I was never worried about this game. Never worried about this game at all. Because when you watch Teddy Bridgewater play, you were like, well, he's still hurt and he's not making his throws. And no, there was no Denver comeback. I was actually watching the game with my wife last night, and I said, watch this. Denver's going to come down. They're going to score. Cleveland's going to get the ball, and they're just going to run the clock out.
That's what happened. It's crazy.
That's exactly what happened. It was like easy peasy, mac and cheesy.
Yeah, and for those people who have watched our streams, you would know that we took Denver when they were at home at the beginning of the season, but it's like following along with kind of the way that they are. This is going exactly the same as it did last year. It's just a very non-creative, poorly coached team. And there still will be some good opportunities to take the Broncos when at home, but it wouldn't shock me to see them drop like every game on the road the rest of the season. And I think they'll be okay because they have talent in the offseason. They're going to blow everybody out, I would assume, at the end of the year. Bring in maybe they'll get Aaron Rodgers. I think good things are on the horizon for them, but not this season. No,
definitely not this season. And I'm sorry, but if you're not going to put Drew Lock under center and just finally just say, what is he about? Do we need to draft another quarterback? Do we need to move on from him? And you're not going to do that with him sitting behind stupid Teddy Bridgewater.
I like Teddy, but again, it's the same. It's 2 years in a row. The first few games of the season.
Great,
he looks
phenomenal.
Really good.
Yep.
He looked great with Carolina too. And then, listen, I think that at this point we understand that I've probably said this on so many streams. People are sick of hearing it, but that Joe Brady. Look at the track record at this point. Joe Brady goes to LSU. Joe Burrow was an afterthought at LSU. He comes in, makes him the Heisman Trophy Award winner, and LSU wins the championship. Joe Brady leaves LSU. The head coach of LSU is being fired after this season. Because why? They have no offense. Goes to Carolina, gets Teddy Bridgewater to play well in Carolina, and then shockingly, Howard just lets him go, right? Just says, oh, no, we're done. We'll take on Sam Darnold. Teddy B goes to Denver. He's not good. Now, the thing is that he did not make Sam Darnold good, right? And that's kind of, I think, impossible, I guess. I don't know.
Listen, I'm not writing off Sam completely. I'm not betting on the Panthers in any way, shape, or form, but I'm not giving up on Sam just yet.
I'm a huge fan of Joe Brady. I think next year he'll be a head coach. Seems like he was a really good bead for offense, and I just don't know that the talent is there. Rule said this week, I don't know if you saw this, Howard. Rule said this week that they're going to stop throwing now. They're just going to run the ball. I don't know if he's telling the truth there, but keep an eye on that.
Something to think about, no doubt. All right, let's get to our picks here. Let's talk about what we got going on. We'll start off in college. Again, if you're just joining us on the live stream, we picked 7 games for the Golden Nugget, and that can be any distribution between college games and NFL games. And then we make 5 picks for the Westgate Supercontest, and that's 5 NFL games that you have to pick. So, here we go. We are a little bit above 500 in the Super Contest. We are just barely over 500 after a really bad week 2 weeks ago in the Golden Nugget. But back on track here. Mm-hmm. I like what we've got going on. Let's start it off here with the Golden Nugget picks. Okay. And let's talk about the first one that we're doing. This one, it was like a funny taste in my mouth. I'm not gonna lie.
To begin, feeling great, Howard. Feeling great.
Well, listen, because sometimes you have to explain the process to me, at least here for some of these games. And this one here, considering 2-3 weeks ago we took Wisconsin to beat Michigan, and there wasn't a big spread in that one there, and Michigan whooped Wisconsin's ass. Whooped them.
Yep.
So now we're taking Northwestern, getting 23.5. Michigan's the 6th best team in the country right now. Give me the process.
Okay. Well, for a couple of things. First of all, the biggest underdog that we took all season long, you also gave me and that was New Mexico State, and we won that one. Okay? We won that one. That's number 1.
Yes, we did.
Number 2, Iowa was the number 2 ranked team in the country last week, laying 12, and lost the game outright to Purdue. Okay? And so the common theme here, especially in the second part of what I just talked about, is that the Big Ten is never any good, and I don't think that's changed this season. Michigan is a paper 6. This is the same Michigan team that does this virtually every single season. They overachieve for a while, and they fall back. That's not to say that they don't deserve to be 2 touchdown favorites over Northwestern, but the results from their season thus far don't really indicate that the team is all that good. Northwestern's defense is excellent, probably the best or among the best in the Big Ten. Michigan does run the ball. Northwestern has had some problems stopping the run, that's for sure. But anytime a team is going to run in the Big Ten and spend 4 quarters doing it, you're looking at unders, and you're looking at big spreads not being covered. So that's something to start with. Last week, Northwestern beat Rutgers 21-7. I don't like to go back and forth between, if this team beat this team, then this team should beat this team or this. But let's just put it out there that 2 weeks ago, Michigan played Rutgers, the same team that Northwestern played last week and beat them 21-7, and Michigan beat Rutgers by 7. And I understand that Northwestern beat Rutgers by 2 touchdowns, which is more, but that's only part of the process here. I think the game will be closer than the score would indicate, and I don't expect Northwestern to win the game, but I just think that 4 touchdowns is too much. I looked at this game and thought it should be basically a 10-point spread, maybe 11. I don't think that Michigan deserves to be 23-point favorites over anybody in college football, and so I expect a closer, low-scoring game. We need Northwestern to score 2 touchdowns. I believe if they can get somewhere between 10 and 17 points, they will cover. So pick 1 will be Northwestern plus the 23.5. I'm relying on defense and running and just poor play in the Big Ten, which is what we've seen all season long, including last week.
All right. I love it. There you go. Listen, man, I just gotta, I gotta needle you a little bit on some of these, right? Some of these favorites. Like the next pick, I absolutely love, and that's Utah -3 over Oregon State. Utah has been our team all year long.
Really has, yeah.
So talk to me here. Cameron Rising, so good.
Yeah, 3 weeks in a row, 3 wins. Utah was picked to win the conference at the beginning of the season, and they lost the first 2 games of the year. Their quarterback left, and now this kid has come in. I had never heard of him before the year, but I've watched them now win 2 weeks in a row for us, and I'm certainly not going to fade them now. Utah is a slight favorite on the road at Oregon State. I know we did back Oregon State a couple of weeks ago. I really was not all that impressed with them. So there really isn't much else to say here with this, except for a good piece of advice in sports wagering is that if you watch a team play and you like what you see, you are probably going to have an edge over everybody else because who in the world is watching Utah football? Well, we are because we picked them. And so after week 1, I said, let's take a shot and take them again in the second week. The second week it worked again. Why would we go against our own trend here? So 3 weeks in a row, we'll take Utah, and it's not a big spread, -3.
Not a big spread at all. Pick number 3, we're heading over to UCLA. Now it's UCLA and Oregon, right? So it's an unranked team in UCLA being a favorite by 1.5 over a ranked team, and we've done that now a couple of times this season. Yeah, and here we go.
Yeah, I mean it's hit a lot, and it's just a trend that you're supposed to follow. I am curious why UCLA is now -1.5. They opened up at 3. But there has been some support for Oregon. I'm not really sure why, because watching them play the last couple of weeks in terms of their offense, they haven't really looked that good. They beat Cal by a touchdown. They lost to Stanford the week before that. Look, I don't think Oregon is bad, but I just think they're beatable. And this is probably the biggest game that Chip Kelly has coached in since he's gotten to UCLA, like a real chance to win the conference. And if they're going to do it, they're going to do it this week. They're expecting a sellout in Southern California, which is rare. We know that USC is not very good, but UCLA does have the best chance to win the pack this season between those two teams. So look, Chip Kelly, what he does is in the past, and remember, Chip Kelly used to coach where? At Oregon. So, the ultimate revenge against your own team. And by the way, doing it in a way that is kind of different for the first time. The way that UCLA is sort of run is they're actually running the clock down a little bit. They're using some clock. The way that Chip Kelly used to run things, even in San Francisco when he was the head coach there, and Philadelphia and Oregon, is they just hike the ball, they run a play, they hike the ball, they just keep going. They haven't really done that, and it seems to be working a little bit better. He's kind of going against his own plan. So all of that being said, UCLA has also won 2 straight road games. They come back home here. They're playing good football, and we're gonna. I mean, I don't think Oregon's gonna be favorite come kickoff, but there just seems to be a lot of support for them publicly. But I fade the public, so UCLA -1.5.
Always about fading the public there. Did Chip Kelly get fired from Oregon, or did he leave to go to the pros?
He got millions and millions of dollars to take over as head coach and sort of acting GM as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach.
Right. GM. Okay. I'm just wondering how the revenge game narrative is going to set with me. I love a good revenge game narrative.
Well, I mean, he used to coach Oregon. They won a national championship. I think they won the national championship, if I'm not mistaken. And then he went to Philadelphia. And then, as I've talked about before, Howie Roseman, who I know very well, Howie Roseman was the GM. And then they kind of put him in the cafeteria while Chip Kelly was there. Chip Kelly just drove Philly into the ground. Howie Roseman got his job back, hired Doug Peterson. They win the Super Bowl. In the process, San Francisco says, wait a second, Chip Kelly, I mean, he wasn't that bad at Philadelphia, and he was good at Oregon. Let's take Chip Kelly and hire him as the head coach of the 49ers. And what happened?
Ran him right in the ground.
1 year, right into the ground. Back at UCLA, and he hasn't been that great at UCLA. This is definitely the best he's done as head coach there, without a doubt. This has been his best season.
All right. Well, obviously, because he's going against all of his instincts. So there you go. Last game here for the college level. This is a game that we talked about on Tuesday night. Actually, you're very bullish on Skip Holtz's crew.
Yes.
In Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech. When the season was early on and I had a chance to watch every college football game, I thought they were really competitive against some good teams this year. They played really well against Mississippi State. They had probably the most famous play of the season thus far. SMU beat them on a Hail Mary at the end of the game. They just threw a bomb up and beat them, and SMU was 10-point favorites in that one. They ended up winning by, I think it was 6. They by the way, UTSA, Texas San Antonio, this has been maybe the best season they've ever had in terms of college football. They're ranked. They want to play in a big bowl game. I get all of that, and I think that they could be headed there. It kind of reminds me a little of Coastal Carolina last season. But I do think that this is a good spot for Louisiana Tech. Skip Holtz has coached in big games before. I think they're able to keep this game close. I think that they have a chance to win. You're looking for just one of those teams that is overlooking another one, and I think that could be happening here. I've seen some 6.5. I think we're getting 6.5 here in this.
Yes.
I've seen some 6. I've seen some 7. But I do think that they're one of the more competitive teams that has played a good team in SMU and came close, a good team in Mississippi State and came very close to winning. So, why not keep this game close too? They seem to have a knack for it. They don't get blown out. Last week they lost, I believe it was to UTEP and played horribly, but I think a better effort is on deck. No indictment at all on Texas San Antonio. I think that they're a good team too, but I just think this is a close game that's going to be played. So we'll take the points here. So all in all, 2 favorites and 2 underdogs out of the 4 picks in college this week, which is the way I like it. For those of you who followed along all season long, we started off the season amazing in college. We hit a huge drought, and now we've been back 50-50. That's kind of the way it's been. Great start, terrible middle. Now we're about 50-50. We got to get back over this week.
Let's do it. All right. Northwestern plus 23.5. Utah -3. UCLA -1.5. Louisiana Tech plus 6.5. Now for the Golden Nugget, we've got 3 pro games in. We'll start off with Washington. We're getting 9 points here in the Nugget. Westgate, we're only getting 8.5. And I saw the line. I think the last I saw the line, it was 8. So, listen, I think, this line has moved a ton here for this Green Bay Washington game because I think it opened at like 10.
Wow, 7.5.
What's that?
7.5.
It opened at 7.5?
No, it's 7.5 now.
Oh, it's 7.5 now. So it opened at 10.
Yeah.
Went up to 10.5, went all the way down to 7.5. Then it went back up to 8, and I saw it back up at 8.5. And now it's down at 7.5 here, and we're getting 9 points.
Yeah, beats me on this one. I would say this, it's we don't have a lot to choose from, and if you're going to ask me to take a big favorite or a big dog, it's always going to be a big dog. We have 3 underdogs this week of 10 points or more, so you're trying to wade through that a little bit, and we will here. The way that I kind of saw this game is not really like just, hey, what is the line or what's the movement. It just, I kind of get the feeling, Howard, that Aaron Rodgers had a bone to pick with the Bears. I mean, it seemed to be pretty obvious in that game last week that he just wanted to smash them. And then when he got knocked out of the end zone, he was screaming and yelling. And you know me, I don't usually use the football stuff when it comes to betting. But I also watched Washington play against Kansas City. And, I mean, if they would just stop making these stupid mistakes. I understand the final score. I don't think the final score last week with KC and Washington really indicated how close the game was in the first half. I thought Washington played back and forth with them the entire game, and then just Heineke was just making mistake after mistake. I really just want Washington to just dump the ball to McKissick, just get these little just slow the game down, don't get into some crazy track meet with Green Bay, and lose by 3. So that's what I'm hoping for here.
Yeah, listen, again, I don't care if they win or, win the game outright or if they lose it, just cover the 9 points. And, for me, this was more about the line movement that we saw and the value that we are getting on this pick. Because even like I said, the Westgate, it's 8.5. Here in the Nugget, it's 9. And now you just said it's down at 7.5 already. Yeah. I don't really understand what's going on that's causing this kind of fluctuation. But if you're telling me that I can get 1.5 points of value on this, that's what I'm going to take. So, because listen, I think the secondary for Washington is trash. Absolutely, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to carve it up. It's whether or not they're going to be able to, take down Green Bay. Green Bay's a run funnel, right? So if Antonio Gibson does play, you got to run him hard. You got to use Jarrett Patterson as well, and you got to use McKissick. You have to take advantage of the fact that Green Bay is super soft against the run. You don't have Jair Alexander in the secondary, so you got to find ways to hit Terry McLaurin. But like you said, you can't make it a track meet. You have to be able to run the ball effectively against Green Bay. Slow it down even a little bit, and this spread is way too high.
It feels like a letdown coming from the Packers this week.
Could be. All right, second game we're taking. We are going for a big dog here.
Yes.
Not the biggest dog, because we're not touching Detroit. They suck. We're not touching Houston. They're worse. But we're going to look at the Bears. 13 points underdog to Tampa Bay. Now, you can't run on Tampa Bay at all. So you're going to have, this is going to be Fields and Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet to at least keep it close. Now, the issue here, obviously, Tom Brady, 14 of his 17 touchdowns have all come at home, right, over just 3 games. He doesn't have Antonio Brown. He does not have Rob Gronkowski. So those are 2 things working against them. They also don't have Levante David, which is the middle of the field for their linebacking core. So that's going to be an issue there. That's why, I mean, some of the stuff that I'm seeing here about Tampa Bay is why I'm in on taking the Bears and the points. We're getting 13 on the Golden Nugget, only 12.5 in the Super Contest.
Yeah, the line is 11.5 now. I would also say that from a strategy point of view, if you are betting multiple games this week, there's a couple things to consider. Number one, the road dogs have been covering at a historic rate, and I don't see that changing. I still think that that's a possible trend that can continue. What will not continue is we had the most favorites in the NFL of any week thus far cover. That is going to flip. That is basically the house losing. And so I want to be on the side really this week of the NFL underdogs. And so for me, you're going to have to choose some of the big dogs. There's no choice in the matter. I can't back Houston. I just can't do it. I can't do it. It just look horrible. Detroit, like, it's a little tempting, but I felt like for the first time last week they gave up. The Bears, they play to the end. They're in every game in the fourth quarter. So what do I envision in this game? The Bucs are up 27-14. There's 2 minutes left, and the Bears have the ball. Give me that scenario, and I think we get the cover. So we'll take the points here.
I'll be happy with a backdoor cover there.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last game we're taking, it's the Monday Night Home Dogs. Yeah. I mean, you're giving me 5 points. Some places I'm seeing at 4.5. I saw some places at 4. Give me the 5 points here for the Seahawks on a home dog Monday night. 60% of the time, it works every time, Craig.
I mean, the home dogs are covering every week on Monday Night Football. So what are we going to do? We're not going to go against that. We're just going to do it again. We're going to take it again. I mean, Tennessee was like an easy win last week. I'm not a huge fan at all of what Seattle is doing, but I would anticipate home crowd, them just keeping it close and covering in the end. I don't love the team, but
me neither.
It's just one of those weeks where those are your choices. Your choice is to go back and take favorites in the NFL this week and expect that the bookmakers are all going to lose again. And I just don't anticipate that. It happens over 17 weeks, 3 or 4 times the books get killed, but I just don't want to be on the side of the public. So yeah, Seattle.
I'm fine with that, man. I'm fine with that. Right? All those beautiful hotels in Vegas, Craig.
And by the way, I don't like the Saints at all, man. Like I don't like that team at all. Like if there's one team that I could just fade against, it would be them too, man. Like I just.
But you're talking about 2 teams right now who run the fewest plays in the NFL. Like they both play at a snail's pace, and it's unbelievable because you've got Sean Payton who's not letting Jameis Winston throw the ball more than 20 times in a game because he doesn't want to risk the interceptions. And then obviously on Seattle's side right now, you've got Geno Smith. So, they just, Pete Carroll, like he likes the West Coast offense, but he's slowed down the pace so much. So I could definitely see this being a close game. And, Seattle, I mean, even if it's not that close and Seattle comes back and they're down 2 scores or, when they get the touchdown, they need the field goal to win or to tie it, send it to overtime, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just give me Seattle and give me those 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, this week, Seattle is about the same underdog that they were last week against Pittsburgh, and I definitely feel like Pittsburgh is better than New Orleans, and the game was in Pittsburgh, so, yeah.
All right, well, so there you go. Those are our picks for the Golden Nugget, right? Washington +9, Bears +13, Seahawks +5. We're dog central here.
I love it.
Now we're going over to the Westgate Supercontest. We're taking the Bears again.
Yes.
Right, but they're only plus 12.5. So
darn.
We're taking the Seahawks again, but they're only plus 4.5.
Yep.
Still Monday Night Dog. Let's talk about the 3 games that we're going to that we haven't picked yet. Let's start off with our first favorite in the NFL tonight. Mm-hmm. That's the Ravens, 6.5-point favorites over the Bengals. I like this pick. I think we were talking about this pick on Tuesday. You know, I've been very much in on this. I think everybody loves what Cincinnati's doing, and I think offensively they're fine. Defensively, they're not so great, and I'm taking the home team here with the Ravens, who look good. And you know, here's the funny thing, and this is something that we're going to have to kind of track. Look at the Ravens' schedule for the rest of the season. All right, I think the furthest they travel is Miami. So they're sitting there right in the vicinity. There's no travel issues for the Ravens. Just something to think about, something to look at. So 6.5-point favorites at home. I like them over the Bengals here.
Yeah, this is one of those where I look at the line and say, if Cincinnati is really that good and they're really getting to that next step, why are they still a touchdown underdog at Baltimore? And that's probably because the Ravens are still a lot better than they are. Cincinnati is still probably about a 500 team, maybe a little bit better. I thought this line would be like 3.5 or 4, maybe 5. But the line is sort of telling you, hey, you know, don't get caught up in Cincinnati, beating Detroit like they did last week. And look, we backed Cincinnati when they played Green Bay. It was a great spot for the Bengals. They were playing at home. Historically speaking, the Bengals have really had a hard time in Baltimore. And so I really just don't see that changing this week. I got the Ravens as the best team in the AFC, maybe the best team in the NFL. I really do. I think that defensively, offensively, doesn't matter who's been running the ball for them. They've been dominant, coming back in games, winning a lot of close games too. And, I just don't think that this game's going to be particularly close. And Burrow on the road is just not the same as he is at home.
All right. So second game we're looking at, another favorite. This one, it hurts a little, stings a little to have to make this pick, but Patriots -7 over the Jets. Man, I saw it in another pool that I'm in, a pick'em pool that I'm in. It was like 7.5. I was like, ooh, that half point really makes the difference there. I don't love this pick in the sense of, because it could push.
Right.
But I also do think that Belichick against the Jets, against the, Zach Wilson, you want to talk about a coach who has it in for a team, like perpetual revenge game narrative. He was so quick to not take the Jets head coaching job and has been punishing him ever since. So Patriots -7 here. I definitely see this happening.
Yeah, well, I guess the question you have to ask yourself, and just theoretically with both teams, the Patriots, they've played 6 games this year, correct? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to say they've looked pretty good in either 5 or 6 of those games. Yeah, they've had a chance to win or have won. How many games have the Jets looked even decent in? 1, right? The whole year? 1. Mm-hmm. 1. The whole year against Tennessee. I don't know. I think that the Jets have a huge problem here. This line has been a solid 7. It hasn't moved all week long. I was impressed with the way the Patriots played last week against Dallas. I thought they had a good shot there. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game, an ugly game, one that the Jets probably have the ball in the end with the chance to backdoor cover, but they'll probably just, be throwing picks and fumbling. Pretty simple one for me here. And again, don't want to lay. What are we? The whole thing is this with games like this. We're getting to this point. What are the choices? So do we take New England -7, or instead do we take the Rams -16? It's like, and I'm just not going to lay those kind of points, no matter what in the NFL. So give me this -7 instead.
All right. Last one then is the Sunday night game. Actually, a road dog. We're taking the Colts +4 over the 49ers. Another game we talked about on Tuesday. Not really sure of either team's identity at this point. I know that San Francisco's coming off the bye, but I like the Colts passing attack a little bit more, and I think that they can definitely keep this within a field goal, if not win it outright.
Colts are playing well. There's no other way to put it. They're playing much better than they did in the first couple of games. Some people feel like they should be 4-2, not 2-4. I don't know if I would go that far, but to me, I think the two teams are even, which means that I'm going to take points when a team is laying 4. Garoppolo is probably better right now for the 49ers to win than Lance. Yes. But you always have the huge turnover factor with Garoppolo in this game. So I actually see a fun game here, high-scoring game, but close one. And I'm with you. I think the Colts have a chance to win the game outright. I just think that San Francisco views this season as a season that they want to make the postseason, but I don't know. Like, it just kind of feels like everything is in on next year with Trey Lance taking over and some of the younger guys playing. Kittle is out too, just a monster injury there for him as well. So, yeah, just give me road points. Road points seem to be coming in constantly, and especially with a pretty good team like the Colts. And again, I think the Colts are much better than the Jets. And I also think the Colts are about the same as Cincinnati. Like, I don't see a huge difference between those two teams. So
they can grind it out on the ground with Jonathan Taylor. They can throw the ball now. I don't know if T.Y. Hilton's actually going to play or not, but I mean, Wentz to Pittman to me is a fantastic combo there. So
the Colts played amazing against the Ravens, and the Ravens looked fantastic the last few weeks. So yeah, I think the Colts have a chance to win.
All right, so there you go. That's those are our picks. We got our 7 in the Nugget. We got our 5 in the Westgate Supercontest. The Golden Nugget ticket is already posted over at wageralarm.com. You can go check that out right now. Once I get the ticket here tomorrow for the Supercontest, I'll have that posted as well. So I want to say a big thanks to Matt Sells, our producer. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. It's been the Wager Alarm live stream. We'll catch you next time.